Hi guys, it's Craig here. Welcome back to my vinyl channel. Today I've got my Technica AT LP120 USB turntable on my workbench, and I'm going to be doing some internal rewiring on this turntable of the preamplifier, and I'll explain that in a second. When I first bought this turntable, there's absolutely no way I was going to do anything to it that would void the warranty. But now it's a couple years old, and I'm hearing a few people online who say that the built-in preamplifier in this turntable, even if it's switched off, can still affect the audio quality because there's a couple of capacitors in there that are still in the circuit even when the preamplifier is switched off and you're using an external one. So today I'm going to get to the bottom of this, whether it sounds better with or without the built-in preamp installed. Now, what people have been doing is they've been completely cutting all the wires and just kind of ripping out the preamplifier, like a preampectomy or something like that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try to preserve the internal circuitry as much as I can. I'm just going to rewire the turntable so that the preamplifier is absolutely not involved in the signal path at all. So for that, of course, I need to get a ground wire, because you need a ground wire when you do this. The built-in preamplifier is grounded up by itself, but when you take it out of the picture, you're going to need a separate ground wire. And I think I'm probably going to need a set of, audio cables. So the first thing we're going to do is prepare the turntable to be taken apart, and there's a few things that we need to do to that before we can get started. Okay, the first thing I've done is I've actually recorded a couple of my vinyl records onto my computer as a reference, because when we're finished this, we're going to be able to try to hear the difference playing the same records again. The other thing I also did was I checked my stylus pressure to make sure I knew exactly where to set it when I put the cartridge back on again, in case this little weight here gets accidentally bumped or moved, so that's important as well. Obviously, you're going to want to remove any objects that are going to possibly fall off. Obviously, you're going to want to remove your turntable platter. All right. What else? Oh, of course, the cartridge. Put that in a safe, very safe place, out of the way. And make sure you've got your clamp down on your tone arm. I'm going to have to flip this over, and the only way to get it to sit upside down is to have some stuff that we can put on it to support it. So there's a piece of styrofoam that's got sort of a cutout, set it on there. Make sure that the tone arm doesn't get bumped. And on the other side, I just have a box that's roughly the same height that I'm going to use to support the other side of the turntable when it's upside down. Okay, I've got my turntable securely in place. There's screws, holes that you want to remove, have arrows beside them. I have never had this apart before, so I'm going to obviously remove all the screws. Okay, obviously. Okay, there was 8 screws around the edge. Don't mess around with any of these holes here. They're adjustments that you don't want to touch. Oh, the other thing you might want to do is remove these lid holders too, because they'll fall out. Now, there's little washers inside, and I've just heard a bunch of them fall. And so, well, that just comes right through there. So I'm going to have to go around and fetch all these little spacers here. See, there's one here. All right. There's going to be 8 of these that you need to find, and they'll be inside there somewhere. I'm going to find them. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the whole thing around, because this is the preamp right back here, and here's where it connects over here onto this board. So let's turn it around. Okay, I've got her turned around now. Here's the preamplifier, and we're going to follow the circuitry here and see where exactly we're going and what we need to do. Now I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to take a closer look and show you the underside of this, and where the wires go, and what's what, and what is actually happening in here when the preamp is turned off. Are you getting a direct signal, or are we going through some components, which is why people are removing this board? Let's take a look. Okay, this is just a brief look at the underside of the preamplifier. And as you can see, there's just capacitors. There's one inductor coil right there, and the rest of it is just these little jumpers here, these little wires that go across from point to point. And that's all there is. There's the USB port and your switch. Okay, so now we're going to follow the signal path from the tone arm all the way to the output of the turntable and see if there are any components that might be suspect of degrading the audio. Okay, so here is where the wires, come out of the tone arm through this shield, which is part of the grounding system. Okay, that's ground. So it shields the wires from outside interference. And these are the wires that come from the cartridge. Well, as you can see, this is the board that controls the speed, if my camera will focus, the speed and all that control of the turntable itself. They've obviously decided to use the end of that circuit board just as a little bus bar or junction bar for connecting the tone arm, which are these wires, to the preamp, which are these wires. Okay, so let's follow it. So we got our right channel coming from our cartridge, goes along here, comes over to here, straight onto the red wire, off to the preamp. No components, no interference there. Same with the white wire, which is the left channel, comes across here, along there, straight to the white wire. We have a ground for one of the channels. I'm not sure which one, right or left, but it's for one of them. And it comes across, and it goes to this terminal here, which is the black wire, which is the ground. Okay? And then we have a blue wire, which comes up here, along here, over to here, and it doesn't connect to anything. There's no wire here, but there's a little J jumper here. This little jumper here allows the current to flow from here over to here and to the ground wire. So that there is a jumper. That's all it is. It's like a little connector, like a bridge. All right, so those wires travel down through this gray harness, down here, under here. Try to do this as smoothly as I can. You see the little gray wire there? It goes underneath this black wire, these two black wires, and it connects right under here. There's the red, there's the black, there's the white. And they connect onto the preamplifier with these three. Luckily, they didn't put enough stuff on mine. I can see underneath it. There's the white wire, there's the black wire, and there is the red wire. And that's where they attach. Now what we need to do is follow these and see where they go and what they go through. All right, well, let's start with the left channel. Here's where the left channel comes in. That's the white wire. Let's see if I can do this as smoothly as I possibly can. It comes along here, this little thin trace right here. It goes underneath this jumper. Somebody on YouTube said it went through here. No, it doesn't. It just goes underneath that. There's no connection there whatsoever. Comes along here, up here, goes underneath this other jumper. It's like a little going under a bridge, right? Goes underneath it. It comes down, and it connects to this terminal right here. And this is your switch. It switches the preamp in and out of the circuit. So back to the red wire. It comes along here, goes up and around this little bit here, goes underneath this bridge or this jumper here, comes around. This is hard to see. Up, over here, down, underneath that little jumper there, and it comes to this terminal here. So both wires, the ground, the left and the right, this is the left, and this is the right. When it's switched to phono, which is no preamp enabled, which is turning off the preamp basically, the signal comes out through here for the left channel, comes out here, and for the right channel, it comes out here. When you switch it to use the built-in preamp, then those no longer have signal. They're turned off. So it disconnects them. So if we switch it back to not using the preamp, then let's follow it. So the left channel comes in here, it goes through, it comes out here, comes along, up around the screw here, underneath this little jumper, down into here. This is an inductor. It's a tiny coil that is used to filter. That's a filter coil. Comes out of the other end of that coil into this, and this is a capacitor. This tiny little thing right here is a capacitor. You see it's a C612 or whatever the number is, 632. Comes out of the other side of that capacitor and into the ground. But it also comes off this inductor and goes into this terminal here, which is the output for the left channel. It goes into your stereo amplifier. Okay? So it's going through an inductor straight to the output, but it's also being shunted through this capacitor to the ground. Going through a coil, a choke, and then shunting it to ground through a capacitor. Both of those procedures can hamper or decrease the high frequencies. Why did they put these in there? Probably to filter out noise coming from either the motor or the circuitry that converts it to digital for USB. There probably was some noise, digital noise, and they had to filter it through these. So the trade-off is you don't get the noise, but you also lose a tiny bit of high end. We think. We don't know yet. We haven't done the comparison. We just followed the left channel. The right channel is exactly the same. It comes along here. We already followed it. It comes to here. It comes out of here when the preamp is switched off. Comes out of here. It goes up. It goes through a jumper, which is on the other side of the motherboard, of the PC board. Goes through a jumper. Ends up here. Comes along. Comes down. Hooks into that little coil there, which is an inductor. A tiny inductor. Same thing. Straight to the output for the right channel, but is shunted to ground. So I can draw a diagram of this and show you what it's actually doing. Let's do that. Okay, I've drawn a little circuit diagram here for you. These are the inductors that I talked about, and these are the capacitors, okay? The signal comes in from the cartridge. This is, let's say this is the right channel. Let's say that's the left channel. It doesn't matter, you know, either one. And this is the ground. Okay, common to both. They both use the same ground. That's why you only need 3 wires. So let's just take the right channel. Very simple. It comes in, it goes through this little tiny inductor coil, and then it comes along and goes straight out to your amplifier. But part of the signal is being shunted to ground, which means you are losing something there. Mostly what you're losing there are a tiny bit of high frequency. So that's a very small capacitor. So you're not losing much, and we still have yet to see whether it's audible. Same with the left channel, goes through the inductor, straight out, but shunting to ground through a capacitor. Of course, the ground just goes straight through. That's what we've got. This is probably some sort of a filtering mechanism to filter out noise from the rest of the turntable or from digital circuits that are putting out high frequencies. So I'm going to proceed to disconnect the amplifier and wire my turntable directly without all this. Okay, so I've marked down the connections just in case I forget. I'll always do that. Although I have this video, I'd look back on if I had to. And so now we're going to go in and disconnect these 3 wires that go to the preamp. There's our red, the white, and the ground. There we go. Now I said I wasn't going to remove the preamp completely, but I'm starting to have a change of heart, because what am I going to do with the wires that are left? Am I going to curl them up somewhere? There's a neat way to remove this without damaging anything. It's already partially done. Let's undo this wire harness. This is where the wires come out to hook up to your amp. Alright, and so what we've got here, let's just slide that out, and out it comes. I'll set that aside. So there, that is free. This wire, right, and just pull out. This is the power to that amplifier right here. We're just going to pull that out like so and just tuck it somewhere. We'll tuck it away in a minute. And then to remove the ground wire, we just remove it. That's one wire we're going to have to cut. There's no getting around it. Alright, well, I didn't want to do this, but this is minor. This is easy to fix later if I wanted to put the preamp back in. I'm going to cut this one ground wire that comes from here. They've got this white, some sort of epoxy or something on there. I can't unsolder the wire, so I'm just going to cut it in the middle. And that will allow us to reattach it later if need be. And now the preamp is completely removed. Still intact, so if I want to put it back, if there's no difference, if this does not improve the sound, then I will be able to reattach the preamp with no problem. Alright, I've got a new lead here, a new audio connecting wire, so I'm going to solder it on. Okay, so to the best of my ability, I've gathered some spare parts from around the house and I've made myself a ground wire. Okay, so now I'm basically going to reconnect all the ground wires with that spring, harness everything up, get this out of the way so it doesn't get involved with anything, tidy it all up, and we'll put it back together. So hopefully we can get this in here. Ah, there we go. Perfect. And there's our ground wire. And so, I'll reconnect the harness here and we'll get things going through. It's a tight fit. There we go. There, that power cable for that preamp is just tucked neatly underneath there for if I ever want to reconnect all that. All the grounds are connected, everything's good. I did a continuity, I did a short test, nothing's shorted, everything's working. It should all work when I get it back together. I put the screws back in too where the amplifier was, that way I don't lose them. Okay, I'm cheating. I can't trust that when I put this bottom on, one of these isn't going to fall off, and I would never know. So I'm taping them on. That's a great idea. Alright, I'm going to warn you, that took a few tries to get this bottom on, even with tape on the spacers. And I'm ready to hook this up and do another test. Okay, we're all set to take it over and hook it up and give it a whirl. Got the turntable all back, set up again, and as you can see, my new wires coming out, and I've got them connected. They go up along here and back behind here, and they're connected to this Nico preamplifier. Just showing you what I'm using here. And that connects to this Yamaha USB mixer. It comes into here, and I have not touched these levels at all. This is the recording level. This is the input level. I have not touched these since before I removed the preamp. So these tests are going to be absolutely identical in every way except for the removal of the amplifier. For the music, I'm using one of my own compositions called After All. It was pressed to vinyl as a single in the early 90s, and it has quite a bit of sibilance in it and high frequencies, and I won't get copyright violations if I use this. First, I recorded the song with the original turntable configuration into my computer using Sony Vegas Pro 12. After I removed the amplifier, I did the exact same thing with the exact same settings, and now here we have both before and after. Let's take a closer look at these waveforms. Okay, so, at first glance here, you can see the top is before the preamp was removed, and the bottom is after. Okay, it's labeled on the left-hand side in case you forget. And at first glance, to me, it looks like the bottom half is louder. It definitely has more amplitude. There's less white space in the bottom half here, which means it's louder somehow. Something's louder. I'm going to zoom in here on a louder passage, maybe one with some cymbals or something in it, and we'll see what it looks like close up. Okay, what I'm seeing here is the bottom seems to have a lot more high frequency data in the wave than the top does. There's just more going on here. So there is a difference. We definitely know that now. So the question is this going to be audible? And without further ado, let's go ahead and do the final comparison.
Wanna feel you in my arms again. I can't remember when I felt this pain inside. It's for you that I cry. In my heart again. Just wanna feel you in my heart again. Something tells me we could start again. Oh babe, please don't let it end. So why you telling me goodbye? Can't you see the tears in my eyes? Oh, after all that we shared, you don't
Well, guys, geez, I didn't think there was going to be that much of a difference, really, but it seems that there is. Definitely a different sound to that. And of course, this is all going to boil down to your personal preferences. Did you prefer it with the preamp installed or after I took the preamp out? Which one did you prefer the most? Personally, I prefer it without the preamp because that's the way the cartridge is meant to sound. That's the way that cartridge is going to sound on any standard vintage turntable when you plug it into an amplifier just like that and play it. So whatever was going on here definitely was taking something away from the audio. So anyways, I'm happy the way it is, and I'll be putting this away in a safe place in case I ever want to reinstall it. It almost sounds like a different phono cartridge altogether, which is strange, but anyway. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you learned something here. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you do own this turntable, I hope this video gave you some insight as to whether you should or shouldn't do this. It's not a hard thing to do, and hopefully the video helped you make that decision and will help you do this if you feel that you need to. So thanks a lot for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Do the thumbs up thing if you like the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget, guys, vinyl is final. Cheers. Peace out.